All right, so Street Fighter 6 has been out for about 2 weeks. I have been incredibly busy, so I haven't had a lot of time to play the game, but I have gotten my hands on it, and I've had time to really think about a few things. We're going to talk about some of those things today. We're going to talk about my current goals for Street Fighter and kind of some thoughts and feelings around the topic, a sort of review, like a 1-week review, and just a lot of life updates, a few life updates, I should say. But nonetheless, hello, welcome. My name is Tavian, the Philosopher Napier, and welcome to FGC Philosophy. I'm the Assistant Director of Esports and the Arena at Western Michigan University, but I'm also a tournament organizer and many other things, and I've been lucky enough to turn my passion for gaming into a career. I organize and produce tournaments, like I said before. I've competed in fighting game tournaments, and I've even tried my hand at commentary and been a paid commentator. Many other jobs within that scene. So whether behind the scenes or in the thick of the action, gaming is a passion of mine. It is a love of my life, other than my wife and my son. But I'm excited to share my experiences and insights with you on this podcast. And that said, a quick few updates. I have been all over the place. I just got back from Mackinac. It's like 5 hours away from me. My boss had his wedding and I was invited to that, and it was a great wedding. Very beautiful, very fun, open bar. It was a great time. I got to hang out with coworkers, get to know some of my coworkers, get to know my boss's family. It was the first time I've ever been to a coworker's wedding, so that was kind of an interesting dynamic. But nonetheless, it was fun, but I was gone for the whole weekend, so I missed a lot of time playing Street Fighter. You know, I have a 9 to 5, so I'm not usually playing Street Fighter, except for sometimes on my lunch break. I will play for about, a half an hour or so, just get some time into practice on the game. But yeah, our summer camps are in full swing. We just had, as of recording today, our first day of summer camps, our first week of summer camps, and that is going well so far. We had a few technical hiccups, but overall, so far so good. And the other camps are even more full, so I'm excited for those and hopefully kind of getting the rust off, shaking off the rust. But yeah, so make sure if you're in the Kalamazoo area, the Michigan area, the Midwest, the Western Michigan area, thank you. If you're in the Western Michigan area, if you have a kid, middle school to high school range, next year, we're doing summer camps. There's still room as of right now for a few other camps later in the week or later in the month, and also after the 4th of July. So if you still are interested, feel free to reach out to me or register. You can go to the website that'll be linked in the description or the show notes. So make sure you guys check that out. I appreciate everyone who's been spreading the word. The camps have been a huge hit in terms of registration. So, I'll update you guys on that as I go because there's a lot to learn there. But for today, I just wanted to update you guys that is happening. That's on the way. I also want to update you. Again, Street Fighter 6 is out. We do monthly tournaments. My boy Goku Cooper streams these tournaments every week. And he is going strong. Sometimes the dude JB is also with him, helping to commentate. I've actually been doing the commentary for Street Fighter 6 so far, but I hope to kind of spread the wealth out a little bit. So if you're interested in doing commentary, you're very serious about that, then for sure, go ahead, hit me up. Join that Discord. It should be in the show notes as well. And or just enter the tournament. If you're interested in competing, getting better, we have a lot of great players, a lot of new players entering. It is free, but there's also a first place payout. So no harm, no foul, there's no risk really involved other than, losing. But that's part of growth. If you've listened to this podcast at least one episode, then you understand that I have no pity for you if you are avoiding losing. That is part of the process of growing. Nonetheless, though, the last thing I want to mention, of course, something that saved me on this 5-hour drive is audiobooks. Now, you all know that I listen to audiobooks. I talk about it a lot. I'm currently listening to what's called a lit RPG, literary RPG. I'm on book 7 now. It is an insane story. It is very fascinating. Me and my buddy talk about it. He reads the books and I listen to the audiobooks. I listened to it for most of the drive to and from the wedding. So that was very, very nice to be able to listen to that. But if you are interested in audiobooks, there's some really good ones out there that I've listened to, whether it be personal development like Mastery or Think and Grow Rich, or something along the lines of what I talked about before, Ready Player One, or even Harry Potter, who's voiced by or narrated by Jim Dale. You can go to taviannapier.com/audible, links in the description or show notes, and you can get a free month. Try it out, get a free book. If you like it and keep it, I get a small commission and I'm eternally grateful for that. And if you don't, then there's no risk to it. So go ahead and try it out. Helps me out tremendously. I fully endorse this software. I use it literally every day. My ADD brain is a little bit hard to read. So, check that out. Nonetheless, though, let's get into this episode. Let's talk a little bit about Street Fighter 6. So let's talk about Street Fighter 6 a little bit. I'll have an updated review, but I want to talk a little bit about my impressions, the online impressions, and overall, it's been fantastic. The only regret that I have or complaint is that I just don't have enough time to play the game right now. So I'm going to talk about more of the mechanic side of things. I think there's a lot of single player content, but I haven't really dug into it. No, I know there's a lot of single player content. The multiplayer is great. There's a campaign, a full campaign where you don't have to touch any online whatsoever. It eases you into the game. It has easier inputs. It's more of like an action adventure RPG, almost like a turn-based RPG, or like what's that game? Like the Tales games, like Tales of Symphonia, Vesperia, all that stuff. It feels like that more than it feels like a fighting game because you're walking around this open world and it transitions into a fight, and it's really, really cool. So I highly recommend it if you're interested in fighting games, but maybe you just have had a hard time getting into it. The modern controls make it a lot easier to just ease into the game and it's tournament viable. There are some restrictions. You don't have access to the full moveset of a character, but that's a good thing if you're learning a game because too many moves can be very overwhelming. And I think that Capcom has done a fantastic job of making this a very newbie-friendly game. So if you've been curious about fighting games, maybe just were too afraid to commit because it is a lot of work to just get decent at the game, now is the best time. It's only going to get simpler. You have Project L on the way. I don't know what Tekken's going to do for ease of access, but when we're talking about Street Fighter, it's good. It's good. So I highly recommend it from that point. But again, the mechanics of the game, I've been playing mostly Jamie, who's a drunken boxer style of character. I'm actually going to be switching over to DJ a little bit. I'm still going to play Jamie. I love drunken boxing, so I'm always going to be playing some of that. But I want to practice this game, and this kind of gets into goals as well. But I want to practice this game in the sense of being tournament viable. And I don't think Jamie is the only character I should have under my belt. So for that reason, I've been trying out other characters and I want to do a little bit more. But again, my time has been limited. I haven't played the game in like a week. But I've been itching to play it. I've been wanting to play it. I'm really excited about that. But nonetheless, overall, the new mechanics of the game I think are just great. There's a lot of room of depth. Like I think this game is going to be very, very hard to master, and it's going to take a while for that ceiling to be hit. And I imagine they're going to be adding new mechanics later on down the line so it doesn't get too stale, making those tweaks. It feels very much an esports-oriented game. If you're not familiar with what I mean, I use League of Legends as a good example. Now, right now, they're going through some turmoil with their esports field, their esports league. But in terms of the game itself, what they do is they make changes every year or every season to the game. Sometimes they're very, very drastic. Sometimes they're somewhat minor, but a lot of times it changes what the game, how parts of the game function, how strategy of the game are functioned. There's new items that get added, new characters are always coming out. They might change a part of the map and how that works, certain objectives, health values or points and stuff like that. There's a lot of tweaks that they make to keep the game interesting and try to keep it fair while also adding new content and keeping it fresh, new skins, all that kind of good stuff. Capcom's been following suit, and I've been saying this, if you listen to my podcast for a few years, you know that I've been saying that esports is going to bleed into developers for fighting games, and we're here. Now, what remains to be seen is whether or not they're going to make a 7. I think that might be 10 years down the line. If anything, I think they're really going to try to keep this game going, which isn't really a surprise with what fighting games have always been anyway. They've always upgraded their games. It's just they call it a different version. Street Fighter 5 was the first one where you didn't have to buy a brand new game. Maybe 4. I might be wrong on that. But I think 4 you had to buy a new version. I know Marvel 3, it was a completely different game, but I don't know if you could upgrade Street Fighter 4 and just download the DLC. That might have been right before that time. Either way, I think we are going in that direction. But I do want to dive into some of these goals here. This is going to be a shorter episode because I do have to get ready to host this online tournament in about a half an hour. So we're going to go through this real fast. But yeah, one of my goals, and I think this is the more arbitrary goal, but it is still it's a vanity goal. But it is the first one that I want to talk about because it helps. The other 2 goals help with hitting this goal in some ways. The first goal is hitting master rank in Street Fighter. Now, right now, that's the highest rank you can hit in the game. And I've always wanted to be able to hit the highest rank in a game, and I haven't really succeeded in that. I've gotten pretty high in a lot of games like Rocket League and Street Fighter 5. I've gotten to like Diamond and near champ / master, but I've never hit that threshold. And I want to do that. I've had this weird middle ground where like I don't completely train as hard as I can in the game. This is sort of the later part of my 30s, right? Or the earlier part of my 30s where I'm like, I got a lot of responsibilities and I don't really regret that, but gaming is a huge part of my life. Competition is a huge part of my life. And I want to compete in things like, biking activities and stuff like that, like cycling. But I do, for the sake of many different reasons, want to hit this vanity goal. It does hold some weight as a coach to have a high rank. You don't necessarily have to be a skilled player to be a coach. But I'm competitive. So I want to beat other people. Also, when you hit that rank, you're playing other people at that rank. And that's really the non-vanity part of it, is that now I get to play and have access to the best players on the game. That in itself is the reward for hitting that rank. So I do want to aim towards that so that I can be consistently playing the best players, because I'm never going to be the best if I'm not playing against the best. It's going to be very, very hard. So I want to get there for that reason. And while I do think that having your only goal be a ranked-based goal is not a good way to set your goals, if you have other goals around that and hitting that rank is a milestone, sort of like how I have it, then I think that's healthier. Versus, you can't control your opponents, right? You can't control everything that they do. You can claim to, but you're not going to. Everyone's going to be different. Some people are going to be random. Some people are going to be calculated. Some people are going to have characters that just beat yours if you're not ready for the strategy. So you can't control how your ranked journey goes, but you can control certain things, which are my other goals. My main two other goals right now, and there's some other ones that I haven't really verbalized or found a way to articulate yet. But the first one is I want to learn all the characters' abilities and moves and what they do. This isn't just for competition purposes, but it definitely helps, right? I am a commentator, I am a tournament organizer, so it is important for me, for the quality of my commentary in tournaments, to know these characters and how they work. I'm not going to be able to do as good of a commentary if I don't know all the ins and outs of a character, depending on what role I'm filling in that day for commentary. So it is important. It is really easy to just start grinding one character. You get comfortable, and so you don't want to go to a new character and start losing again. So I really want to make sure I keep doing that. I'm not sure if I'm going to be making content around that yet, and that's sort of a side goal. Is I do want to make some content on my journey to master. I just haven't figured out the format yet. So I'm not going to promise that, but I am thinking about it a lot. In terms of learning the different characters, I've already come across, like I said before, I fought a Dowsum online. I played some casual matches against him, and I just could not figure out what to do with Jamie. And I still want to. Like, I played a bunch of matches with this guy, but lost like every single set. And I think that it is possible to learn Jamie, but I was thinking multiple times, I'm like, it would be a lot easier just to play DJ or somebody else that has a projectile or something. So I want to be able to just have other characters in this game. I think with the modern mode, it is easier to just sort of get a feel for the character's abilities a little bit easier without having to commit to the execution of learning all these combos. But that's going to get easier as I get a feel for the timing of the mechanics of Street Fighter 6. So I won't have to have as much time front-loaded to learn a new character, especially if I'm being consistent with that and trying out new characters. I see a lot of other people doing that, a lot of other content creators and competitors also doing this. So it's going to be terrifying for me to play against these people who do know every other character because they've messed with them, while I only have played with one character. So I want to avoid that. Tonight I'm going to be playing as DJ. I'm going to try to compete, but I only have about, this after I get off this podcast to do that. But nonetheless, yeah, that is a really good goal. But the last goal, the most important one to me, is to get on the practice schedule and be consistent. I am not going to see consistent growth if I'm not playing consistently and also playing with some sort of intent in mind. So I do want to get more structured with how I'm doing it and keep track of that somehow. I don't know why I've been struggling with setting goals lately, like being specific and like clearly stating what the heck I'm going to do. That is something that I want to do, and I'm trying to figure that out because there is just some brain fog in things where I just have a hard time thinking about concepts. But I do know this is something that I definitely want. This is how I'm treating a lot of other areas of my life, like my career and my family. I'm trying to just be consistent with certain things. I already have some goals for my son that I'm going to be trying to work on as well. Not goals for him, goals for myself to do with him. But yeah, so I believe that if you're trying to get better at something, whether it be Street Fighter 6 or anything else, you really want to try to put this consistently into your life. Even if it's like a half an hour a day, 20 minutes a day, just working on something and refamiliarizing yourself, that is incredibly helpful. So in the last non-fighting game goal, the point that I want to hit with you guys is that I do want to be more independent. I love my job. I have no intentions of quitting it, but I learned from this pandemic that I need more sources of revenue coming in. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to be more serious about content, is that I do want to generate more revenue. I don't necessarily want to get rich from it, but I don't want to be scared of what'll happen if I lose my job again and lose my benefits again. So please continue to spread the word. Please continue to give me feedback on how I can do it better. That is what I'm going to try to do. And I definitely appreciate the words of encouragement. A lot of people have been hitting me up on Twitter or tagging me on Twitter and saying that this is a really good podcast. So I see you guys. thank you so much that you're getting your word out there. I am trying as much as possible, and this is a tangent from the main topic, but I do want to talk about this a little bit real quick. I have been thinking a lot about what I want to do next. A lot of my attention has been towards my family and my career job, working at Western. And I still have a lot of things that I want to do there. But at the same time, I do have a lot of ambitions. And I'm trying to prioritize those. And I've come to the conclusion, because a lot of times I was like, playing games is not as important. And I still do agree compared to what are the other goals that I have, like my health goals, getting more in shape. But I do find that I'm at my happiest and I'm at my best when I do have some sort of like competitive game in my life that I get to grind towards and see that improvement. It reminds me, every time I get improvements in fighting games, it reminds me to do the same thing in other areas of my life. So that is an important component to making sure that my mental is focused on growth. And it's a very rewarding kind of experience. And I want to continue to do that. I want to continue to set those goals. So yeah, everyone reaching out to me and sharing, that has been very helpful. Please continue. I am not above some acknowledgement. I do struggle with imposter syndrome from time to time. So I'm not asking for some fake feedback. I would love more feedback in terms of what I can do better with this podcast, what you'd like to see. I do have some guests coming up too. I need to actually, I have a week off from my summer camps next week. So I do need to try to get my next guest on here. I talked to Zed Nabani. If you know who that is, then I'll talk about him in the future. If you don't know who that is, and you'll see him on an episode in the future. So I'm trying to set that one up, but he already agreed, which is really, really awesome. And that's really exciting. So I want to get some more guests on here at some point. I've talked about that in the past. And I just want to say thank you to all the listeners who have been supporting me, listening to me. I look at the analytics and people all over the world listen to this podcast, which is nuts. But thank you. I appreciate you guys. And let's play some Street Fighter 6. If you play Street Fighter 6, hit me up. I will play you if you're better than me, if you're worse than me, on the same level. Let's play some sets. Let's grow together. Give each other feedback. That's what we should do. I've been playing with a lot of people online and I love it. So yeah, this is a great game. I will, if I'm better than you, I'll give you advice if you want it. Otherwise, I'll just play sets with you and not give you, not say a thing. Yeah, I'm also looking for some feedback and growth. I'm trying to not develop bad habits in this game, but nonetheless, thank you everyone for this. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for being this possible. But nonetheless, thank you all so much for listening to this episode. We'll have more episodes coming out there. And as always, I will see you all in the next one.
Jamie wins!